Hey everyone, going to do a little overview here of some of the products that I use. I was asked about doing this video by Northview Model Shop. Looks like one of my new subscribers that I've picked up. He seems to be a real good supporter of my channel. I appreciate that very much. So anything I can do to help you out and make your hobby your builds or whatever more successful, I mean, I'm more than glad to do that. So his question was, what clears do I use on my models? And that is a multi-part question, or actually a multi-part answer to that question. I use several different things. There is some that I prefer over others. There are some that I use more than others, but I'm going to show everything that I pretty much use as far as doing a clear coat on different builds that I do. Where to start? Let's see. Let's start with the one that I use the most. This is a DuPont product. This is the product called Nason. It is an acrylic clear. It comes in the 12-ounce cans. I get this at my local CarQuest. It's a CarQuest store, but they actually have an auto body paint shop supply tied into it, which is a separate part of the building. But I'm sure that anybody that handles automotive paints or whatever that handles DuPont automotive can get these for you. They cost here in Winchester, Virginia, they cost about right around $10 a can. I use this like the blue Ferrari that I showed you. Most of my builds are done with this clear right here. Sometimes I will spray this directly out of the can onto my builds, depending on the body style or whatever. The one thing I have noticed about this Nason is you have to spray it a little wet to really get it to somewhat lay down good. If you try to put this on in thin coats, it seems like it never gets a glossy sheen to it. It just kind of does what a lot of lacquers do, and that's going kind of dry. So you have to spray it a little bit heavier if you're using it out of the can, but then you are going to have to wet sand and buff your finish. I usually give it about roughly about the minimum I would say would be 2 days before you could wet sand it and buff it, and that depends on your humidity and your temperatures and everything that you've sprayed the clear in, and what the conditions have been while it's curing. But to be on the safe side, something like a week would probably be good. Lacquers tend to pull down over time, so I have noticed some models that I've set up in the cabinets that is sprayed with the Nason, that as I leave them set, they tend to pull down and shrink a lot more. So, take that into consideration. But this is a very good product. You get 12 ounces, so it's a typical spray can for $10. For a lot of people, that's going to be a little bit too expensive, but this is a very good product. I just did a video the other day on headlight lenses for a good friend of mine, Chaz, out of Richmond, Virginia, and I've turned him onto this product. I haven't heard any feedback from him yet, but I'm sure I will here in the near future when I go to the next couple of shows that he'll be at, and I'll try to get some feedback from him on it. But you can also decant this and spray it with your airbrush. If you're going to do that technique, I would recommend using, depending on your airbrush, at least a medium needle and nozzle or a large needle and nozzle. I have done a couple experiments so far with decanting this and putting it into a touch-up gun, and it seems to be working pretty good. So that's another avenue that you could go down and experiment with. But this is a very versatile product. So far it has not lifted any hobby enamels, any hobby lacquers. It works well with decals. I've only had one issue with spraying this over top of a set of decals that were aftermarket decals, and I guess it wasn't compatible with them. But so far on all the kit decals, this has been compatible. I'm not going to guarantee that 100% for everybody. That's just something that you're going to have to test and, you know, just make sure that it does work for you. So that's the DuPont Nason. The part number on that's 403-00. Very good product. They also make a jam clear that I think Dr. Cranky uses. That comes in a can. It actually comes in a can bigger than this. I think it's like 15 or maybe 16 ounces. It's a pretty good sized can. A little bit more expensive. That's about 20 bucks a can in my area to buy it. That's also a good product. I have used it before. I don't have any here right now to show you, but that is an option too. And I think it's called Door Jam and Trunk Jam Clear or something like that. So definitely check into these products. They're very good products. Next on the list that I use a lot of, and it is the Testors One Coat Lacquers. This is the Wet Look Clear. Very good product from Testors. This is a very quick drying product. I can spray this stuff here in a nice medium coat, and within about an hour I can go back and actually wet sand and buff this. So if you're doing, and I use a lot of this on my decal work. They want a gloss coat down before you put your decals down. I will spray this, a good coat of this down, and then apply my decals. Works very well. You can spray this over top of hobby enamels, even though it says lacquer on the can. It is not an aggressive lacquer. Works very well. It's a very nice product from Testors. The cost will add up a little bit. Here in my town, it's at the hobby shops. This is about $4 a can, right in that neighborhood. So, and you get 3 ounces, which is not a lot, and I go through a lot of these. I buy these by the case. They come 6 cans to a case. So I'll go through, you know, if I'm doing a build with a lot of decals or something and a lot of layered decals, I'll go through many cans of this by the time I'm done. I have tried to decant this and spray it through an airbrush. I haven't had any luck with it. It comes out very dry for me. I've adjusted needle sizes and nozzles and air pressures and still no luck with that. But straight out of the can, it's a pretty good product. A little expensive, but it works well. Next we move on to something that a lot of you have probably used, and that is the Duplicolor Perfect Match Clear Coat. This is a pretty decent product. You can put this on in light coats and they will build up and get pretty shiny for you. You know, and then if you go and wet sand and buff after that, it works very well. About the same as far as wet sanding and buffing on this, about a week and you're safe. You can do this the next day, but this hasn't pulled down enough in that time frame to really give you a quality job. So I would give it about 4 days or so to dry totally. You know, well, when I say 48 hours, let me rephrase that a little bit. 48 hours would be 2 full days. I think that's a little soon on this, so maybe about 4 days you should be good. But this is a very good product. I think this cost me about $6 a can, $5 or $6 a can, something like that here in Winchester. But it's a decent product, works well. You have to watch this over some decals, and you have to watch this over some enamel paints. It will lift them. It's a little bit more aggressive than your hobby lacquers are, so be careful with that. Next we move on to another product that actually I was turned on to by Don Yost. This is Testors Model Master Clear Top Coat. There we go. They also make a, I forget exactly what it's called. It's like a Super Shine or a Wet Look or something like that. I haven't tried that one yet. You will notice that this one has like an amber tint to it. I don't have any models that I have this sprayed on that's set for a long time. Some people say that this stuff will yellow over time, especially over whites or lighter colors. If people have found that to be the case, then I guess you're right. I haven't used this product enough yet to be able to back you up on that statement. So as far as me personally, I can't say that. I do know Don Yost uses a lot of this, and his models are very nice. Now, one thing that I do with this product here is I cut this with a cheap lacquer thinner. I think my lacquer thinner is from Sunnyside, I think is the manufacturer for that. It comes from Walmart. I will put, usually when I'm cutting my lacquers, you can see how thick this is in the bottle. It's pretty thick material. This is the same stuff that I have in this sealer for metallizers bottle, and you can see that it's pretty much water thin in there. This is in this bottle here, which is 3/4 of a fluid ounce. This is a half fluid ounce. I think this bottle's a little bigger than that, than 3/4 of a fluid ounce, because what I've done is I put one bottle of the clear into this big bottle here, and then I take my lacquer thinner and dump into this bottle, put the cap back on, shake it up real good to get all the remaining clear out of it, and dump that into the bottle. And then I will put about a half of a bottle more of lacquer thinner into this one and put over into this, and this is what you end up with. It comes almost to the top of that bottle, and it works very well. It sprays on nice at about 15 to 20 psi through my Grex airbrush. My harder Steinbeck I can get by with about 15 to 16 maximum on air pressure. If you're using an Awada, or now my Awada custom series I've never sprayed this through it, so I can't tell you what pressures to set that at. But if you have an Awada or a Badger or a Pache airbrush, you're just going to have to experiment with what it's going to take to spray this without it becoming dry. Excuse me. And like I say, on that product there, the Testors Model Master, very good product. Definitely recommend it. The only drawback for me on that is the drying time. In my conditions here, with about 55% humidity, it takes roughly about a week for that to dry out totally before I can actually pick it up and handle it. And I would say about 2 weeks before I can actually wet sand and buff it. So that's the only drawback for me on that product. But I'm starting to learn a little bit more patience when it comes to painting and clear coating, so it's not becoming so much of an issue for the drying time. And last but not least, another product that I use is, and I'm not sure if it's still going to be available, I know they discontinued a bunch of these. This is the flat finish from Flowquill. It is an enamel finish. When I go to the hobby shop, I look for a bottle, and let me see if I can get it to zoom in here. Yeah, right there in between the label halves, you can see the white at the very bottom, about 1/4 of the way up that bottle. If you go in and look at some of the bottles of these sitting on the shelves, you will notice that some of them are only filled up with the white solids to about that point right there. Skip over that bottle. Look for the bottle that has the most amount of solids in the bottom of it. What that's going to do is when you shake this stuff up real good and you spray it through your airbrush at about 15 psi, it will pretty much go dead flat. It's a very good finish. I've had good luck with spraying other things over top of it. And it is also an alternative that I've found so far for, let me see if I can grab a hold of it here. The dull coat lacquers from Testors. The dull coat lacquers seem to be a little bit more able to withstand your different types of things that you may spray over top of it. This finish tends to be a little bit more picky on that, but it is pretty forgiving. The dull coat is a lot more forgiving on many things. So hopefully that gives you an idea of some of the clear coats that I use on various different stages on models. You know, I'll use the gloss clear coats on my bodies and stuff like that. And sometimes I'll go in and spray something like this with you know, a little bit higher air pressure, and it'll give me different flat finishes. You can also thin this in different ways to get different sheens, because a lot of times I'll do my chassis on my trucks in more of a semi-gloss, and do my cabs and my hoods and my sleepers in a gloss. And then always for my interiors, I use a flat finish, so I'll spray this straight out of the bottle onto my interiors. So hopefully that gives you an idea of what I use to do my clear coats on my models. And you know, if you have any questions or concerns on any of those, shoot me a message on the video, and I'll be more than glad to get back to you. And as always, I thank you for watching, and I'm going to let you go today, and we'll talk to you a little later.